Hey, this is Dane from featherprop.com. Thanks for joining me again today in this video. In my last video, I had addressed the question as to how anyone might be saved prior to Jesus' death on the cross. And in that video, I had made a passing reference to my belief that Jesus' work on the cross was not limited to saving just human life, but all of the cosmos. A viewer, John, had asked me to talk about this a little bit more, so that's what I'm going to do here today. All right, let me begin by saying that what I'm about to talk about today isn't something that's really spelled out in great detail in Scripture. What I'm going to do is talk about a few passages of Scripture and then sort of seam them together with what I suspect is the truth about them. Now, I'm telling you this because as a Bible teacher, I feel I have an obligation to tell you when I'm drifting into areas that might include more opinion than obvious biblical fact. It's important for me to be honest with you when I get into those areas. So just sort of take what I have to say with that caveat. All right, the passage of Scripture that I had referenced in my last video was from Romans 8. Let me pick it up with verse 19. For the earnest expectation of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it in hope, because the creation itself also will be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation groans and labors with birth pangs together until now. Now, in context, Paul in this passage is talking about our sanctification, the process of being made more like Jesus through suffering. In doing so, he makes a reference to the glory that will be revealed in us through that process and suggests that all of creation is longing for that revelation. Then in verse 21, Paul writes, because the creation itself also will be delivered from the bondage of corruption or decay. Now, this is an interesting reference made by Paul. He seems to be suggesting that all of creation, while it waits for the full revelation of Christ's glory in us, is also waiting for its own deliverance from decay. But what could he mean by that? Well, if we go back to the account of creation as found in Genesis, I believe we find a world created by God that seems to be in harmony with humankind. There seems to be an abundance of food, and no obvious discord is mentioned that exists between man, animals, and even the earth itself. Then in Genesis chapter 3, everything goes sideways. Adam and Eve rebel against God, and the serpent, Eve and Adam, each receive their own distinctive curse. One of the curses that Adam gets has to do with him and the earth. God said, "Cursed is the ground for your sake. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread." I believe that as a result of the fall, not only has our relationship to this planet been affected, but I believe that the earth itself was somehow changed or altered by that curse. I can't detail that change for you anymore because I don't have a good grasp on exactly how things had been. The data that we have about the earth prior to the fall is rather limited. However, I think we have enough to know that it was different, that it had been a better, more hospitable place than it is today. Now, as we had seen in Romans 8, Paul seems to suggest that creation will be delivered from its decay. As many of you probably know, the second law of thermodynamics deals with the concept of entropy. Entropy is the measured disorder of any system. This is something that we can easily observe in our universe. Everything is breaking down. Nothing improves on its own without any outside energy being applied. This is certainly evident in our bodies, which, as most of you probably recognize, do not get better over time, but eventually become less and less effective. Now, I don't know if that's the decay that Paul has in mind in Romans 8:21, but it might be. In any event, we know that there is a new heaven and earth that will one day be revealed. And it's my guess that this is what the present creation is eagerly waiting for, as Paul puts it in Romans chapter 8. But you may ask, how do I relate Jesus' death on the cross to the redemption of creation? Great question. In Romans chapter 5, Paul does some comparison of the sin of Adam to the work of Jesus. In several verses within that chapter, Paul will say something like, "For if by one man's sin death came to all, how much more will one man's righteous act bring about life to all?" Or something like that. He uses this type of comparison about a half dozen times, really trying to drive home the point that if the disobedience of one man, Adam, could cause so much devastation in our lives, just think what the righteousness of one man, Jesus, could bring about. If the momentary sin of Adam could cause everything to go sour for everyone, just imagine how effective the lifetime righteousness of the God-man could be. If Adam's sin can bring down creation, then think of what the righteousness of Jesus can do to raise it back up. Some of the things that Paul has suggested here is just simply mind-boggling, and I think it gives us just a glimpse of what that man had known. So you see, it's passages like that that makes me believe that Jesus' death on the cross did more than just purchase the salvation of humankind. I believe that his work actually has the potential for purchasing everything in the whole cosmos back to God. Well, I hope this gives you something to think about. If it does, please feel free to leave a comment below, and I hope to see you next time on this channel. Thanks for watching.